What's going on, people? Welcome to the live match reaction. First game of the season, done and dusted. 2-1 defeat to Brentford. I'm joined by Hambo here, and the lines will be open for you to have your say on the game as well. There's a lot to talk about today after that defeat. Subs, referee decisions, tactics, players, so much going on. But as always, if you do enjoy the stream, hit the like button, subscribe to some future Palace content, and get involved in the live comment section. Hambo, I've got a half a screen.
You
won defeat as well. It's been a horrific afternoon for me and also for Palace in terms of losing the first game of the season, 7-game unbeaten run officially over. For you, what do you make of it?
Look, watching the game is disappointing, right? You know, obviously you're seeing things unfold. I think games like that. So let's give it some context, right? We're not in any way ready to start the season, and Glasner even said that himself in the run up to it. He sort of said we're ready for the game, but he was at pains to point out that players had been away. And I was saying to you before we started broadcasting, if you look at, from the keeper, you've got obviously up through the team, you've got Henderson, Gay, Wharton, Eze, and Mateta, none of whom have been with the team in pre-season for anywhere near the kind of full length because they've been off on international duty. So we played like a team where half of the available players and some of our biggest influential players just weren't up to speed and weren't ready. So I'm not surprised, but I think a game like that today can hinge on one moment. And we know what that one moment was. You know, we'd started to grow into the game. We'd started to sort of dominate that possession after a really quick start from Brentford. And that moment that changed the game was an absolutely baffling referee decision. A fantastic goal from Eze. Just a sensational free kick. And you saw it off the training ground. Wharton's lining up to put a left-footed ball in. You know, Eze just casually jogs over and he just says, keeper's well out, well over. Let me have it. Takes it, scores, and we should be we should be running to the centre circle to kick off 1-0 up. And then not even minutes later, seconds later, we're 1-0 down. And you can look at that goal we conceded and say there's so much we should have done better. Mitchell's gone wandering and we're caught out on a break, and Gay's defending just knocked 5 million quid off his value. Newcastle's next bid is going to be, cheaper than the fourth bid, wasn't it? The fifth one. But we could have done a lot better. But I think that's the pivotal moment in the game.
Yeah, I do think it is, because I mean, if you go 1-0 up there, and also the fact that they scored straight after, I'm just done with referees. I said in the live watch, I'm just done having referees who it's they have the debut games in the Premier League, and it's a Palace game that they officiate. Because, I mean, it's such a rookie mistake. But not only just that, Hambo. I mean, we did score 3 goals. Well, the ball did go in the back of the net 3 times today. Not only that, yes, we did get back into the game, but there was that moment with Edouard, which I do not understand one bit. Why he was offside. Why he had the need to be offside. I thought he started his second half very well coming off the bench with his first touch. But he's literally looking at 2 defenders. You can see them. He's in his vision, and he's still ahead of them. To me, that's a rookie mistake. There were too many small mistakes today that added up to this result. And look, I can understand a player being offside. That's not a problem. Players always be offside. But I just don't understand, for example, how, if you're a Premier League player with that quality, nice finish, by the way, how you can look at the defenders and still be ahead of them and think that's fine. To me, that's not, I don't understand. So many things I don't understand about today.
It's not one of those where you kind of thinks maybe there's somebody behind him playing him on or something like that. He was, as you say, he was looking across the line, and he went early first, and then he sort of drops back a little bit, slows down, but just not enough. And I've got to say, it was closer than I thought, because as soon as I saw the ball go across, I'm like, well, he's offside. What's the point? Why even play the ball over? He's offside. But when they showed the replay of it, I mean, obviously we're now getting these semi-automated decisions, so we don't really get to see the line anymore. So it was closer than I thought, but he was still off.
Semi-automated decisions, it hasn't. I think it's going to be implemented soon, but I don't think today we saw the semi-automated decisions. I think it's going to
we just saw less of why they made the decision. But he was. I mean, he was offside. There's no two ways about it. I look at it, and he was offside, and you were quite right. He shouldn't be. But like again, you think that's another pivotal moment. But I think it all harps back to what happened. You know, it's hard to recover from something like that. And obviously, we got back into the game with an own goal. But you know that goal came off the back of doing something that we didn't do enough in the game, which was getting a ball in from one of the wing backs. You know, Mitchell getting the ball across, Munoz on the other side, coming in at the back post. And you think about how Brentford played. They weren't fantastic, and neither were we. But what they did do is they broke with pace, and they stretched the game, and they used the overlap. They saw where our system can be exploited, and they repeatedly exploited it. Knew we weren't going to change too much. I think we should have noticed very early on that our defence stepping up into midfield to press was a bad idea. You know, is how we have played under Glasner. It's what we do. One of the centre backs will step into midfield, out of possession, get an extra body in there, and really press the opposition. But as soon as somebody stepped up, they went straight in on the overlap on both sides, and we just didn't spot, and we didn't respond to that. But the biggest thing that points to the players not being ready and not fulfilling the manager's instructions is how often we went long. Glasson does not set his teams up to play long ball into channels. You're not hitting the front man repeatedly. So that tells you that the players weren't comfortable being pressed by Brentford and weren't quite sharp enough to pass their way out of it on some occasions. So we got a lot to work on. We really have.
Yeah, we do. All right, then let's go through some of the people that's calling into the show. You can join us live as well and have your say by clicking on the pinned comment. Let's bring on Bollocks first. What a brilliant name! I guess your name stands out today.
Yeah.
What Bollocks that was? Watching that play. What do you make of it?
That was our referee's decisions. I think I said it a few times. I think like I was watching USA commentary, and they were pointing out that it's all irrelevant because the whistle went before the ball went in the net, and I did feel like I could hear the whistle before it happened. But they're also forgetting the main fact because it wasn't a fucking foul, and they didn't bring this up. Like Hughes did nothing wrong. If anything, it was a foul against him, not going to be a penalty or anything. But it was just, as you pointed out, why do we always get these brand new refs? Why are we the testing ground? And Brentford worked it well in their favour. I was really surprised that we had 5 yellows and only had 1. I know that our yellows were yellows, but also Brentford put in a couple of bash tackles and didn't seem to get anything for it. But that's their style. Like they are up and at them, and they do overachieve. Like with the individual parts of their good team, and they've got their style in it, and it works. And we won't be anything to be caught out by it. If we don't score against them early, there's always that threat on the counter. But it's quite a gutting one, especially first day of the season to be so pissed off a bit all, because I thought we were in control when they scored, and you also point out there's things that need to be addressed a bit earlier in the game than we did, and Frank was when we first attacked again, and none of our midfielders really had a solid game for the whole game. I think the only surprise was Morton came off because I thought he might be able to pick out the through ball. But he might have been knackered from the England camp.
Yeah, it's very frustrating. I think some of the stuff that you listed. But for you, in terms of the performance, you mentioned it a bit. Are you happy with the performance? Also, by the way, is there like scratching noise? It is scratching noise. I don't know.
It sounds like someone's repeatedly shaking a sachet of sweetener or something.
Oh, really? Okay. It's a very old laptop. I'll try it with the headphones. Sort of that.
Okay, no worries. I thought I was hearing something. I thought maybe like someone's shaking something. That's the highlight today. But yeah, in terms of the performance, do you think it was good enough? Because some people are criticizing, for example, the subs made. They're saying it was the wrong subs. There was, of course, quite a few made. Wharton got subbed off first, and Edward came on from Mateta. For you, do you think we could have done better in certain areas of the pitch and also game management?
No, yeah, I think it wasn't terrible, but we looked like we were lacking a bit going forward. Mind you, I don't know, Brentford didn't create a great deal, but they still got their 2 goals. Didn't their second goal come from our throw-in? I sort of looked away from a minute, and the next one I knew they'd scored.
Yeah,
it was a throw-in or something.
Yeah, it was a
Went
ball
to
into the
field.
box, and then Anderson missed the header, and people saying Richards should have been closer. Henderson literally got a touch of the ball, but then lands on Whistler's feet, and then he scores. But yeah, I mean, the defending for the first goal, especially with Gay as well, I think it was just too easy for him. Bremo, he done exactly what he wanted to do. He just showed him to his stronger foot, takes a shot, finishes it. It was a nice counter attack, but of course that happens after the decision that went against us straight away. So I think it took us a bit to get into the game after that. But I mean, that's what I'm saying. Like, we did get into the game. We did score the goal, well, the own goal anyways. And then afterwards, we should have been 2-1 up. For me, we should have been 2-1 up. It is a rookie mistake. For me, I don't see it as any other offside decision. I think it's very rookie mistake from Edward to be offside there. Like, just time your run. Time your run. You're literally, the defenders
totally
are on your left.
No, I agree with Hambo. Like in real speed, I was like, oh, he's gone so early, but actually it was closer in real time. But I didn't see a replay on the one that I was watching.
Can I
America.
can I take us back to the defensive thing, because it's just something that occurred to me as you were talking there, which to some degree, like, we have to accept a little bit with the way that we play. But we are putting a lot on our back three, because we are going to be exploited down the flanks when we're pressing up the other end of the pitch, and there's nothing we can do about it. So we are asking the centre back on either side in Richards and Gay, we're asking them to go out into the fullback positions, and we're asking them to kind of mark two players at a time, if we're being broken against quickly. So I think that is going to be something we see this season, no matter how much we're on our game. No team really is going to do play 90 minutes and not look like they're going to concede at any point. So we have to accept that that's what we're going to see. That's the the consequence of playing a bit more of an expansive game that we play now under Glasner. So you can kind of pick out the little individual mistakes. Gay should have closed Mbeumo down better and not allowed him a shot on his left foot, and we absolutely should have been that's 3 or 4 things we could have done better with the second goal. But you have to accept that to some degree, I think.
Yeah, so style, it's going to be one of the factors of it. And I think the centre backs were getting frustrated and stepping out a little bit too far into midfield. Like that Anderson tackle for the yellow, I don't know what the need for that was. And I think on one of the goals in the build-up, Gay, he was a bit far forward. If he wasn't conditioned, if he was still tired from his time in France, and if he had the Newcastle move on his mind and he's not conditioned, then Riyad was probably going to be capable today. But yeah, he's done himself no favours in terms of the asking price that we put forward. But he wasn't like terrible. As you say, it's Brentford style. They've perfected it, and I think actually lacking more up front. Eze was incredibly selfish, but if he'd scored that free kick, he wouldn't have complained too much. It was a bit like his performance against Spurs when we got the free kick. He scored that free kick. I mean, we didn't really deserve to be taking the lead at that point, but I forgave Eze quite a bad half whenever it was he scored that goal against Spurs, because he scored the goal. So it's what attacking pace could be like sometimes, but all of them were a bit off the pace. Whether or not we're going to add to that or get Saar match fit or just make sure that our players are fitter for the next match, I don't know. But we just didn't quite look fully sharp like we normally do in the glass now.
Let's see. But look, great talking to you. Hopefully,
Yes.
hopefully we bounce back against West Ham.
Yes,
We have to after this against Brentford. It was kind of a shock, the performance, and yeah, with the crowd behind us, hopefully we do. But yeah, hopefully we'll catch up with you for the live match reaction next one.
Yes. All right, take care, lads. Thanks for the show.
All right, take care. Thank you for watching. Okay, then let's move on to the next guest of the afternoon. Let's move on to Cody. Let's bring on Cody. By the way, if you're enjoying the stream, hit the like button, subscribe if you haven't already done so as well, people. And send in your comments as well. And also saying we're all a bit heated about this last goal, really. I think we're right to be heated because it was a shocking decision. And I think all the neutrals agree as well. Cody, defeat, first game of the season. Not the way that we wanted to start, but what do you make of the game?
It wasn't too terrible, man. I mean, I know the ref had a lot to do with some of the reasons on why the score the way it was. But I mean, we had some positives. Unfortunately, we got players like JP having to get subbed off at halftime, and it's kind of hurt us a little bit. But I think overall it wasn't too terribly bad. the one thing I did notice is that I didn't see a lot out of Kamada, which I was hoping we would. He had really good, getting after the ball traits, but offensively, he might have made a couple good passes, but I was looking a lot more for him to contribute to us rather than Eze trying to take a lot on his own, I've noticed throughout the game. But even Eze, there was moments where, there's open passes. I remember in the first half, Mitchell was on his outside and he could have passed it to him, tried to take the shot on himself, which is fine, which is great. Shows he's got confidence, but sometimes you just got to make the right decisions in situations like that.
Yeah. Amber, what do you make of Kamada's appearance?
Yeah, I think there's a couple of interesting points there, Cody. But yeah, I think Kamada. I felt the same. I watched him pretty closely. You want to have a look at your new players and see how they match up. And in pre-season, he'd looked, like he'd been playing with those players all his life. But I think the reality of the pace of the Premier League kind of shocked him a little bit. I think at times, I think the fact that he had to keep getting up and down the pitch quite so often, meant that it wasn't really following, it wasn't really covering his on the flank, and he sort of chose to deal with that by moving very central. So if you think about the fact that he's replaced Elise, and we're not going to ask Kamada to be Elise, that's unfair. He's a different player, but he left that right side really exposed because there was no point where he pushed out to the touchline. There's no point where he went on the overlap, got close to Munoz, got close to, any of the forward players around him, or even kind of, dropped off and sort of played the link play over on that side. He just stayed central. And I think at times that worked really well for us because he had some neat touches and I had added an extra body in the middle. But we really missed, having somebody of Elise's quality out wide and not least pace as well. There's, Elise's not a tremendously quick player, but Kamada doesn't have that any kind of real change of pace at the moment. I think when he gets used to the Premier League, I think he'll find that he definitely has it within him based on what I've seen so far. But I just think, the frantic pace of it all just seemed to catch him a little short today.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. And also on Eze, can we come back to that after you've spoken, dear?
Yeah. No worries. We'll come back to Eze. In terms of the decisions, Cody, of course, they weren't great. They didn't help us. But there's a few conversations about the game management today. Some of the subs that's been made by Glasner. Some people not understanding the timing or the players that's been subbed off for. What do you make of the game management today?
Honestly, dude, I was actually confused, man. Taking Wharton off really threw me for a loop. I think that if anybody should have stayed on at the midfield, it should have been Wharton today. I mean, he was getting passes downfield for us, helping us, being a creative outlet at the midfield spot for us. And I don't know, man. I mean, I understand Hughes is really good at, getting after the ball and defending and everything, but if it were me on that call, I mean, I would have kept Wharton in, taken Hughes off, and probably put in either Czech Decore or Jefferson Lerman at that point. But with the other subs, I didn't like Ayew going in. I know he did really well for us during the preseason, and he looked pretty decent. But it seems like every time Ayew gets in an actual Premier League game during our season, it's just like he's not the exact same player we see in preseason, which is what I was sort of expecting when he entered the game, and that's what we kind of saw a little bit. I was actually hoping we'd see Sarr in place of Ayew at that point. He did get to come in toward the end of the game, but I think at that point in time we needed a little bit, like you said, we needed somebody there with some more pace to get us downfield, maybe get some balls over the top. But then there's another problem there. When Glasner's system, we seem to like to, pass the ball downfield rather than, kind of go on the over the top passing to get a runner underneath. So it's like there's different ways I can see why Glasner did what he did, but at the same time, where we were needing a goal, I think he could have done a little bit differently on how we sub some guys in today.
Yeah. Do you still think we need another attacking transfer?
Well, I think that all depends on where França is with his health. If we can get França back, I don't think we need another one. If we can finally get him fully healthy, back, ready to go, and have somebody else with a little bit more creativity than some of the other guys we can bring in on as a sub, I think that'll be a little bit more of a gap that's filled that we're missing with not having Elise there. Because France is the one that can take it down the pitch when we need it to. He can pass very well. We've seen it. He makes great crosses. If we can just get him back and then have Sar, Kamada, starting and everybody else there, I think we'll be just fine. It's just depending on what's the news on França. We just don't know. But if it's going to be a long-term thing, then we might need to consider bringing somebody in.
Yeah, that's the thing. We don't even know. I mean, he's got fractured ribs, so he should be out for a few weeks. I think that's what Glasner said. So hopefully he's back sooner rather than later, and then we go from there. But Cody, hopefully we'll catch up with you. Of course, after the West Ham game, it's going to be a big game. But thank you for calling into the show.
No problem, guys. Have a good night.
Yeah, you too.
Thanks, Cody. Cheers. Hey, D, on transfers.
What was that?
On transfers, right?
Yeah.
Just want to quickly ask this question. I'm sure there's somebody waiting to jump on, but just want to ask you this question. Did you see the comment from Glasner? He was due to go on, due to have an interview with an Austrian newspaper pre-game. I think it was yesterday. Okay. And he said apparently the first thing he said was in this interview was, sorry, this was a little later than agreed, but I just had a long phone call with the sporting director. There's a lot going on around squad policy and players, which are bigger issues than preparing for the game itself. So that was just a little bit of a comment there. So talking about the fact, this is the article's on Sport Witness, if you want to read it yourself. But yeah, just something I'd seen it pre-game, and you can see it both ways, really, in terms of the fact that he's basically saying that there's 2 weeks left in the window and anything can happen. So don't expect every player to stay, and don't expect there to be no more incoming business. And they did seem to sort of push him on a few things. He wouldn't talk about joining Bayern Munich in the summer and things like that. But he's basically been talking about the fact that the transfer market is so active for Palace right now that I think we've got a lot of twists and turns to see in the next couple of weeks. So I just wanted to choose this moment, seeing as you were talking about transfers, to talk about that.
Yeah, and I think we do need a few more incomes. I don't think we need that many, but you look at the bench today, there are some. I mean, Lerma and Decore as sub options coming off the bench. That's fantastic. Of course, Decore will eventually start, and that'll be Will Hughes. But yeah, I do think we're still looking at one or two more players at least that we need to bring in, and then eventually we'll get there. We'll get there with more games in hand. Let's bring on Patrick next. Patrick,
how you doing?
First game of the season. It's been a while since speaking to you. Welcome back. Ends with a defeat, fortunately. What do you make of it?
Football IQ cost us the game today. Forget being rusty. Forget subs. Football IQ. They just didn't play smart. And they didn't play well at all. I mean, nobody passed really well. Everybody took a bad first stop, first step on the ball. It's just not there in the noggin. Hambo, I know you were saying rustiness and lack of rest and overplay. That has nothing to do with the brain. I mean, the prime example, as a running down the pitch, and Mateta's asking for it, and he takes it on 1-on-4, and that's what he did the whole day. And that's kind of the whole. Everybody was like that. Nobody could get to the ball. Nobody could hang on to the ball. Passes were off by inch. The positive is we scored 3 goals. So, the defending wasn't great. The coaching wasn't great because they didn't adjust till late. I'm not the type of guy that uses referees as an excuse. He screwed up the call. It should have been 1-0 at that point. And maybe the whole game changes. Maybe it doesn't. But with that defending lack of adjustment, not very good. Not very good. But it's the first.
Why do you think it was the case, Patrick? When we're looking at Palace so far in the Glasgow, it's been, I think everything's been top notch. That's why we entered this game 7 unbeaten. But why do you think today the subs, the defending, has this game come a bit too early for us? You reckon with the Gay, Eze not having preseason,
the games have come early for every team in the world.
Mm.
I mean, Real Madrid, like use them as an example. They won the Champions League at the end of May. They played the Super Cup this past week. That excuse doesn't fly for me. That works for every team in the world. The fact is they just didn't play well. Brentford didn't play anything good either. I think all the European summer tournaments are definitely affecting the quality of football. That's clear. Every team is going to go through that. I mean, we had more players than usual, so maybe it affected us a little more. But I just think football IQ cost us today. We just didn't make smart decisions with the ball. That's just it.
I think I understand the point being made, and yeah, but I think that all of the things, it's not one thing or the other, is it? I don't think the point you're making ignores, means that rust wasn't a factor or people not playing together. Pointing to the example of Real Madrid, that's all well and good, but I'll be honest, I don't know enough exactly about how long Real Madrid's core players were together, but obviously they lost a lot of players to international tournaments just like we did. But
Right.
I think, look, it's a different league, there's different teams, there's lots of stuff different. We played Brentford today. Brentford looked like a team that wasn't, they were the same as they were last year, and what I'm saying is with us, you don't get stupid in terms of football IQ from one season to another. But that's not to say that you're wrong. That's to say that it's a factor. Bad decisions were made today, but bad decisions come from a lack of cohesion. They come from a lack of training groundwork. And I go back to it, Henderson, Gahey, Wharton, Eze, Mateta, those 5 right through the spine of the team. Key players, they just weren't there pre-season. Some of them have had 2 weeks. Mateta has had less than a week. So you could definitely say about the coaching staff, maybe picking Mateta was a bad idea. I think Edouard's been so ineffective in the Premier League that he probably felt his hand was forced, and let's ride that wave of momentum with Mateta from the Olympics, maybe. But that, in hindsight, seems a bit of a mistake, as does picking Hughes over Doucouré and Lerma. But, fine margin.
I'm sorry to interrupt, but if you have rusty players, lack of rest, then playing them is not the smartest idea. I mean, we had no pace up top. Kamada, Hughes was a step slow. I mean, this is what falls into the complete team effort. It just wasn't good. I mean, and I don't mean to say that they're stupid footballers. They're not. It's just the decisions they made. And I don't mean to pick on Eze, but I'm going to here. It's just there's just a lot of times where we have the ball on the break or we have the ball in the box, and there are open lanes, and he's dribbling right into trouble. But look, it's the first game of the year. I'm going to try not to be the overreactive Philadelphian that I am, but the positive is, and this actually gets me excited, is they scored 3 goals today. I mean, Edouard, I don't know how he can be offsides on that, but he was. The own goal, which was forced, because I think, to me, the best player on the pitch was Munoz, because he seemed to be the only one crazy enough with his legs and being aggressive, maybe a little too aggressive, because he got caught behind a few times. But, I mean, he seemed to be the only one. 3 goals there. I mean, West Ham's defense is not exactly called great. But we gotta get them in shape. If you're a Crystal Palace fan, if you believe in the coach like I do, then of course I also believed in Roy, but that's story for last year. But if you believe in Glasner, has got the hardware to prove it, then you stand behind it, and we'll just go on from there. But I definitely think you're right, Hambo. Conditioning is 100%. We definitely need to do that, but we just gotta play smarter. Now, I'm gonna leave one last thing, and maybe I'm wrong here. Does Kamada look more like a midfielder to you? Because his games scream midfield today. Not winger, not 10, midfield.
Yeah, I think he's had a season, isn't he? Maybe a season and a half at Lazio, of playing deeper in midfield. He played a 10 at Frankfurt under Glasner. But yeah, you're right. I mean, he's had a season playing centre mid, and he looks like it. Definitely. I think he wanted more of the game to be in front of him than was, and I think, again, more central than perhaps we needed him to be. But again,
he played that early preseason.
Yeah, but yeah, I mean, your point on Eze, by the way, we saw pretty much. I've got to be careful with my words because I don't want to say the worst of Eze because it's not at all. You know, we've seen games in the past where he struggled and not been involved at all, and almost the games almost passed him by. But we saw that where he's quite close to being at his best, where he can be quite infuriating because he's just not quite sharp enough. But he believes in himself so much that he's gonna like was brought up earlier by I think Cody, but ignoring the pass to the left for Mitchell, not trusting in Mitchell to deliver either get a shot in or deliver across, deciding it was him to step across and get it on his right foot and shoot. And you know, other than the free kick, which was just an amazing bit of skill, and I'm so gutted it didn't count. Other than that, you know, the quality touches were there at times, but he just that extra touch, too many, turning into trouble, trying to get through 3 players rather than laying a simple ball off. It's great 10 yards further up the pitch than it was, I think, at times. And I also think there were simpler options in the final third at times as well. So yeah, it was a frustrating game to watch for him today.
Just just want to leave on this note. I think there'll be, if you believe in the manager, which I do, we should all remember it's first game of the year. Yeah, we all thought they should have beat Brentford, and frankly, Brentford doesn't. To me, Brentford's a relegation fodder this year. The way they played, I think the Brentford you see today is the Brentford you'll see in December and in January and in February. So I'm still standing behind Palace. I think we'll be fine. Hopefully, we could beat D's West Ham friends next week. And
yeah, good. We always do. We always do. If we don't beat West Ham, then there's like, whoa, what's happening here now? That's getting a bit scary. Using against Brentford and not beating West Ham. But yeah, we should be bouncing back. As I think a few people have said as well. Is that look? It's the start of the season. Some of these players need to get up to full fitness. Right. The squad needs to gel as well. And I think we will get there. We'll get there. Today was a frustrating game more than I'm not even angry. I'm just frustrated. I don't know. It's just the decisions from the ref, from our players. It's just like stuff that we know that we can do better.
Well, I can't wait. I can't wait till next week's game against West Ham because watching their defense yesterday, they gave up 2 poor goals, and their fans are already on meltdown. So yeah, that should be a fun game next week. But I've taken too much of your time, guys. Have a great week, and we'll get them next week.
All right, then, Patrick. Take care. Great seeing you.
Bye.
That was Patrick having his say on the game. The link is posted, by the way, so you can join us live. We're going through everyone. We're trying to get through everyone. But if you're enjoying the stream, if you don't want to call in and have comments, send them through. We are reading them out. If you're enjoying the stream, hit the like button, subscribe, and the link is once again posted in the live comment section, so you can just click on it to join us live. Let's bring on Stan next. Stan, how you doing?
How you guys doing? All right?
Yeah, how are you?
I'm very good, mate. Very, very good.
What do you make of the game?
I think it was just a little bit frustrating, probably. It's probably the way I would look at it. It is one game. So, yeah, but it was frustrating. And you could see, I think Hambo's mentioned, like, what's it? Eze's had 2 weeks. Wharton's had a little bit more. We've missed the spine of our team in pre-season. And I think that showed. I don't think the ref helped us. I think he was diabolical, to be honest with you. But I think there were a couple of poor performances, maybe. I think Edward's not cut out for this league, is he? I mean, he's, he should never have been offside there. He could have waited another second. And yeah, I think Kamada's got to do more. I'm not writing him off, but I think he's got to do more. I was expecting a little bit more from him today.
Yeah, in terms of like the actual, there's talks about game management, decisions, as you mentioned a few players. For me, I'll be honest, I thought Edward didn't have a particularly bad game. Like I thought his first touch was more impressive than I've seen previously. The way he started the second half, but when it comes to the big moments, you can't be offside in that position. Kamada, yeah, I was talking about him being potentially subbed off. I wasn't too upset when he did get subbed off, but then people were talking about other subs, Stan, such as the Wharton sub, etc. What do you make of the overall game management from Glasner in this game? Do you think it might be down to fitness more than tactics? It was a bit confusing, some of these players coming on and the timings of them.
So he mentioned in an interview the other day, I don't know whether it was on the Palace app or something like that, he said Wharton is one of the players that is at like 70% fitness, right? So Wharton had a great game. Listen, it could have been if one of those shots from him goes in, both are on target. It's a different game, right? Wharton is young. He's probably knackered. He's been away with England. Again, he's not had a full pre-season, so he's right taking him off. You don't want to keep him on and he gets injured, right? He's a key player for us. So that I don't disagree with. I don't understand what the Ismail Assar introduction was all about, why it was so late, and where did he play him? Because I think you needed someone to come and hug that right touch line and run at them with pace and cause them some problems. And we didn't do that. He touched the ball once. I don't know what he was doing. So I'm a little bit I was a little bit surprised at the lateness of that introduction, and also like where was he playing?
Where do you think he's going to be playing?
I was going to jump in on that really quickly because it's a really good point from Stan, because you asked the question about what the point of his substitution was. At the time he came on the pitch, right? And you're bringing him on. So you're bringing on pace, you're bringing on a forward player. He came on in 83 minutes. How many times do you reckon he touched the ball?
Twice.
Exactly, 100% correct. He touched the ball twice.
That's
right.
I
don't think he knew where he was playing either.
Yeah.
And we certainly didn't know what we were supposed to do with him.
Yeah.
I just thought that was worth talking about.
Yeah, I think just to sort of close that one off, but like bring him on at 65 minutes, let him have a go. Like he's a capable player. So the game management. I mean, it was good to see Decorah. You could see like when he come on, like how good he was as well. Like you could see, even though he only got a cameo, you could see like how good he is on the ball, what he can do. Like he'll be starting there. But yeah, like I said, I think it's just first game. We look rusty. We got to do better. Probably need one or two more players, I would say.
Yeah, with Sarr, just quickly, where do you think he's going to end up playing for Palace? More in that number 10 role or as a striker?
I think he should play on the right. Is my thing. He's quick. He can cut in. We on that right wing, we didn't have anybody today that could cause them some problems. Show someone, down that wing, get in the box. Like we really didn't do that. That was obviously what Elise used to do. You can't compare the two, but yeah, that's what I think we need. Play him through the middle. I don't know. Like we've the club's bought him, so they've got to find a way for him to be effective, because there is a decent player in there with a significant amount of pace that can cause people problems. So they've got to get more out of him.
Yeah. It'll be good to see where he ends up playing, because I think he might end up playing more into a striker than a number 10 position. But only time would tell. The 2 goals that we conceded today, Gahey, I don't think was particularly great for the Mbueme goal, and then the second one was avoidable as well. Poor defending. Are these all just rust, do you think, Stan? It's just all it comes down to rustiness. Some of these players, of course, not having the full preseason with the squad. Patrick just mentioned that as well. What do you think it is for this first game? Because a lot of expectations were high to beat Brentford. We did put the ball in the net 3 times for different reasons. They didn't count. But what do you think it comes down to today?
I think our defense, which is usually very a really good part of our team, today just had a bit of a mare on both goals, to be honest with you. I think, listen, a player of Gay's caliber should know better than to show a player of Mbuemo's quality, because he is a good player. I know he plays for Brentford or whatever, but he's a really good player. If you show him in the box on his left foot, you're asking for trouble. He's quick as well. He's good with his feet. So he should have done better there. And then I think it was a combination of Richards and I can't remember who else that fell asleep for the second one. And listen, it happened. Like I said, if the ref doesn't make that mistake with Eze's goal, and things fall our way, then we're having a bit of a different conversation. But unfortunately, it's a defeat. But it is only one game, so I don't know if anyone's been on Twitter, but like it's a bit crazy on there.
Yeah, well, it always is. It was a
mad.
frustrating game more than anything for me. Anyway.
Yeah,
it was frustrating. There's a lot of things that went against us today.
Yeah.
But it gives us the fundament, it gives us a foundation now where we need to improve on, what we need to work on now that we got the first game out of the way. But yeah, I still have faith that we go against West Ham and get a result. That should be the mentality as well. All right, then, Stan. Thank you for coming on, bro.
Hopefully you guys.
All right, then, take care.
Nice one. D, I've got some stats.
Yep.
Do you want some stats quick? Because I've been dying to tell them. and like I've never had an opportunity. Right, we got Sarr in there, didn't we, with his
Yeah.
2 turns? There was a comment in there as well from Tanta, who was pointing out, to use the exact words, I think, Wharton, when he sat down on the bench after being substituted, said, "I'm fucked," which is code Northern for "I'm quite tired." And yeah, he was absolutely knackered, as was in one half of football, as was Mateta. So we have to bear that in mind as well when we look at the decisions that were made. There was a couple of things. I've got some stats to talk about. Wharton was statistically our best player in his 73 minutes, by the way. But he gave the ball away more than you'd think he did. His pass completion was only 76%, which is pretty low for him. Doesn't usually do that. So I think that again probably highlights how off the pace he was. But we're talking about Will Hughes being replaced, but he had in terms of the midfield and forwards, he had the best passing completion rate. But I thought really relevant when you're thinking about the 2 strikers, Mateta in the whole of the first 45 minutes touched the ball 15 times. He had no shots at all, made no key passes, and didn't win any aerial duels. So basically, he occupied the front of the pitch and touched the ball 15 times and didn't really do anything. Edouard, when he came on, touched the ball 18 times, so 3 more times, but at least had a shot and a key pass in there. So was a tiny bit more effective. I think that was borne out in what we're talking about. Mateta was not ready to start that game. And I think on reflection, we can recognise that, but totally understand why. So I thought those were a couple of interesting things to pick out. And finally, the other thing that I wanted to pick out was apparently Stephen Warnock, who was covering the game for BBC 5 Live, overheard Oliver Glasner talking to the coaching staff during the first half. And apparently he turned around to the bench and said, "Do we not shoot?" So
I was saying the same thing on the last one. And especially first half. And especially in the first half when compared to the second half. You just felt like we were trying to walk to the net. And normally under Oliver Glasner, like we're not scared to shoot, like what we saw last season. It was very confusing in the first half. In the second half, them shots were mainly coming from Adam Wharton. Like he was getting involved. That's why I was surprised. I was surprised to be subbed off. But if he's not fit enough, then that in itself says. But yeah, we need to just quickly get up to speed because these games, I don't want to go to the West Ham game and end up with another loss. No, like we have to. Then naturally, like the morale will just come down. But yeah, it was all a bit confusing. But then again, we got the right man in charge, so I'm not worried about that. I think we'll sit down. We'll be like, all right, what went wrong? That's
exactly my thought when I heard that he'd said that to the bench. It's just like it's a coach who's not hiding. He's speaking my language because, as you said, you were thinking the same thing. We're dominating possession. We got them camped in their half, but we're just passing it across. And instead of taking the shot and taking the opportunity, and that might be so, you might have to give Eze a little bit of credit, really, because when he's taking players on to try and get a shot away, that's probably what he was told to do. I'm sure at half time, Glasner's just ripped into him, and you've seen Wharton and you've seen Eze respond, but it just wasn't enough, was it? And we had those opportunities first half where people needed to be much more decisive than they were. But really interesting. Again, I see that as a positive for sure. And I've got some comments for him. It's the only comments I've seen reported so far after the game. And his comment was to match of the day was, when you lose, it's always disappointing in a game like this. Don't look for excuses, and we don't complain about anything. It is how it is. We had many opportunities to create chances. When you can see 2 goals, it's difficult because we have to score 3. We will analyse it and have more compactness in defence. We are disappointed today. It makes no sense to complain now. We won't get a goal back for a draw. We had a great reaction, talking about obviously conceding, having the goal disallowed. We had a great reaction after 1-0 at half time, played well in the second half. But basically saying we could have defended better. So it seems fair, right? There's no excuses there. There's no hiding. We should have done better. And interesting to hear his comments about the defence.
Yeah. Let's bring on Henry next. Henry, sorry about the wait. It's been quite busy today. Of course, a lot of people calling in.
But a lot of time to gather my thoughts.
2-1 defeat. Amber's mentioned a few stats as well for you. What was it?
It's been interesting listening to all the people coming on and you guys talking. I think I agree with a lot of things that have been said. I think the fact that we didn't have that spine of our team playing in pre-season, did that affect it? A little bit. I also think that there's no excuse for not finding the right options, the right avenues when they were available. It was a weird one because, I mean, it was pretty much for me. It was kind of a first match of the season vibe. I thought we started off a bit slow, and then we were gradually warming ourselves into it. And then, I mean, I don't want to dwell on the Eze goal too much, but I can't help but feel that the complexion of the game really span on that moment. Like, there is no doubt that if we go 1-0 up, it's a different match. Whether or not we win it or not, who knows? But I don't think that we concede when we did. So, but at the same time, I still think we should have managed we should have managed the game a lot better in terms of possession. We didn't keep the ball well enough. I think we sat back a bit too much at times. I think Eze was a little bit off his usual standard. I think you could tell he wasn't quite sharp enough, and I got quite frustrated with him really, because it's like what Hambo said earlier. It's not like he had a particularly bad match, but you just know he's capable of so much more. And for me, he was a bit too selfish on the ball. There was at least 3 times I counted when he could have played it to Mitchell and he didn't. Particularly, I'm thinking of the one in the first half where Eze was walking. What am I talking about? Running through on goal, and he had an overlap. Mitchell was overlapping him to the left, and he just chose to shot, and it was just an obvious ball to play, and he just didn't play it. So yeah, I mean, it is frustrating, but at the same time, I'm not going to be too downbeat about it because it is the first match of the season. I still believe in this manager, and there are some positives to take, and we just have to try and learn some lessons from today, because some of the defending just wasn't good enough, especially the goal that we conceded to lose the match that was pretty much a shambles, wasn't it? I mean, they had 2 opportunities to clear the ball, and then Henderson just, there you go, Visser, have a tap in. So yeah, I mean, some good things to take from the game, but overall just not quite good enough really.
Yeah, I think you summed up perfectly there. But in terms of the defense, we haven't really spoke about them as much. Hamber's mentioned it at the start of the show, but I mean, that on paper was our best defense. What do you think it was? Do you think it's just a lack of? I mean, Gay hasn't featured as much in preseason because of injury duties, and also rumors away from the football club. But Munoz, of course, another player like that. Do you think it's a case of them not having that moment in preseason to gel with each other?
I think it's a case of, it's a mixture of things, really. I mean, we all know Anderson hasn't had the best of pre-seasons. I mean, today he didn't make any, glaring mistakes today. Guehi, obviously, with a lot of links away, and I'm not sure whether that's going to happen or not. Who knows? I don't really think it affected his performance. I think he just didn't have a very good game. I don't think that was because he had his mind on Newcastle, though. I think it's kind of a mixture of everything sort of culminating together when you think of Munoz has had Copa America. Anderson hasn't had the best pre-season. Guehi's been linked away and just hasn't really gelled with the team in the same way. Because, I mean, you got to remember as well, I think Guehi only played 1 match during that run where we were winning loads of games in the end of the last season. So it's not like he was really used to playing with these guys too much under the Glasner system. Mitchell, I thought was, he was okay. He wasn't the best, wasn't the worst. I do think that we were a bit too tentative in front of, like, there was loads of times I was just shoot, the opportunity was there and we just didn't go for it. And I don't know what that is, whether it's first day of the season nerves or what. It's not like we didn't have chances. I mean, the Edouard one when he was offside. I mean, I'm sorry, but as a striker, you need to learn to hold your own there. I didn't think that. I don't know. I mean, people say that Edouard was a lot better than Mateta when he came on. I don't know. I thought Mateta was pretty decent considering that he's been at the Olympics, banging in goals and playing lots of games. I thought he did pretty well with his hold-up play and stuff. I don't know. I probably wouldn't have started Mateta, to be honest. I think I probably would have brought him on. But yeah, I don't know that it's definitely not something to be alarmed about in terms of. I mean, if we'd have played terribly, I wouldn't be. I'd be more negative about it. I'd be feeling a bit more worried. But I think we played okay. We didn't play amazingly. I don't think Brentford played that well, to be honest. I think it was just a case of they made the most of the ball. It's not really about possession; it's about what you do with it. And I think Brentford were more efficient with the ball, and our decision making, especially in the key final areas, just wasn't there today.
Yeah, let's see what happens against West Ham. But Henry, thank you for calling into the show. Always a pleasure.
Yeah, we'll beat West Ham.
Take care. Okay, that was Henry having his say.
You cut him short there. He's just saying we'll beat West Ham, and you're just like, go Henry, go. You've had
no, sorry. My headphones are not in, as you can see. I thought he said up the Palace. I thought he said something.
Okay.
Sorry about that. But let's bring on Alex next. Alex, 2 on defeat. Unfortunately, it's not the start of the season, but here we are. For you, how do you sum it up?
So I just came on like 15 minutes ago, so I didn't see what some of the comments were earlier. I thought, first off, I think some people are just like, it reminds me a lot of the Bournemouth game away last year, where we had a goal disallowed in the first half. It affected our psyche a little bit. We were playing a team that we're supposed to win on the road, and we were playing into their hands. So I thought the first 20 minutes we were playing really well, and we were getting to the first ball, but it was clear that if we did not get to the first ball, Brentford was just going to zoom past us. So the way that they one touch in the middle of the midfield, it's pretty unique, and it worked a lot better. And so, you live by the press and you die by the press in the first half, and we really should have been down more. Even if we get that goal, I think we don't lead by the end of the half. I think they figured something out, and then in the second half we were just like, okay, we'll stop pressing in the middle of the field, and then they, outside of that stupid chance that Joa just kind of glances off his head, Munya, it's all that is shit luck. I'm sorry. That was not bad defending. The first half was very bad defending, I thought. And we had to figure something else out. And I thought that we showed a little bit of a willingness to change, but because we didn't score, and because as they didn't score the goal, we're all just, focusing way too much on him. And I personally thought he was very good. And I am in the minority because apparently you have to know when to pass the perfect time, stuff like that. And even though every single player in the Premier League struggles with that, do you pass to Ty Mitchell there or not? If you pass it and the weight's even a little bit off, Ty doesn't get the shot off. Eze gets the shot off and it gets blocked, or it's off by 6 inches. I think people are reading too much into retrospect and using it to fit their agenda, Yeah,
I think the point being made is a valid one, but I think Look, when you're watching the football match, it's hard, isn't it? Because you can't watch all 11 players all at once and judge all of their games exactly perfectly either. Just like they can't play every pass correctly. And we all know football doesn't work like that. Not like even if people say things like, and we sort of said it ourselves earlier on with Edwards being offside. They're playing in the Premier League. They shouldn't be, the margins should be this tiny and they shouldn't be making those mistakes, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
But, when you attack and you get everything perfect, you still don't necessarily score a goal, but games don't finish, 25 each, do they? Majority of times,
Yeah.
somebody intercepts a ball or somebody passes a ball long or something like that. There's a tackle.
Yeah,
Like,
the
that's
odds
what
are
happens.
against the attacker,
Yeah.
even
So-
in situations like that. Yeah.
Exactly. So, like, I understand totally the point being made. I think what Eze is suffering from this game, because again, it was. I said it myself. I don't think he had a bad game. I think he had a game that he had a frustrating game, and there's a
His free
fundamental
kicks
difference
were
between
incredible.
Yeah,
Both
but
of
there's
them.
there's a massive difference
Yeah.
between being bad and being frustrating. You could have an amazing game and be very frustrating if you haven't scored. And Eze was putting himself in the right positions all the time. And there were just 3, maybe 4 occasions where he held onto the ball too long, or he chose to go a more complicated option and back his own ability. And when that comes off, you hail the genius. And when it doesn't, you say, come on, why didn't you pass to
He's
Ty?
selfish. He's
You
so
know?
selfish. Like I
That's the
just want to
yeah,
slap
but-
people when they say that though.
But that's the
honestly.
extremes of football, isn't it? That's what we do, and we're all guilty of it at times, and we can all be rational, and we can all jump to extremes. And I try really hard to to stay in the rational part, but if we'd done this show directly after we conceded a first goal, I would have said some horrific things about our defending and the referee and all that kind of stuff. I would have been absolutely awful. The fact that I've had time to
Well, I would have been on
process
Mars
everything.
if that disallowed goal happened in the second half. That is one of the top 10 worst calls I've ever seen. Because he's not okay. So they say he's not looking at the ball. He's not seeing if Eze is playing the free kick or not. But and that's the only reason why he whistles it early. Because if he lets the play go, like then you can whistle the foul if it comes off the post and someone gets it, or it's played off a save and but you let the play go if you know it's a shot. You don't just whistle off the ball thing on a shot.
Well,
what are we talking about here?
Let's talk about that, because I think this is the fundamental point about why this is such a bad call from the referee. But the referees, they've all had the summer, like the people who organise refereeing for PGMOL.
This
right?
is the focus.
They've had the summer. This is what we're going to do this summer. And one of the things they've come up with is holding and pushing.
It wasn't a foul by him either.
No, it wasn't. But they've said this is what they're going to focus on. We're going to give more decisions against people who are pushing and blah 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 blah. So this referee's refereeing his first game in the Premier League, and he's got it in his head, hasn't he?
I've got to watch for this before,
and
not many times, but he's ref for us. He's that Jake Lacey looking from White Lotus prick. I don't like him,
but basically, but basically, they're looking for it, right? So he's got excited because he's seen it. And he hasn't actually thought about the other part of it, which is let the game go on. You don't have to blow your whistle straight away. You're not Mark Clattenburg in the FA Cup final. You don't need to blow the whistle. You can wait and see what happens because, use your common sense. This is not some guy who's never refereed a football match before. This is some guy who's they're just so fallible, referees. They're just so easy to influence. And he's just got carried away, hasn't he? He's got carried away with the instructions to him, and we're the ones who suffer.
Well, I was gonna say, I think the VAR. Look, I'm gonna look at this objectively and just basically say you don't reward the defender for somebody jumping out of the way when you show your studs, because if Ayer doesn't jump out of the way, that's a red card all day. Like, he jumps out just enough because he doesn't want to get injured. That it was a reckless challenge by Gahey. It would have been a modern red card, and I don't understand why that wasn't pulled back and looked at more. I don't know, just frustrating things all around today.
But I mean, that's the best way to describe occasion.
Yeah. But you've got to have that perspective that first game of the season, you're not gonna, it can go well. It literally is flip of a coin stuff. And I see there's a Brentford fan in the chat saying that we deserved a draw for the game, and I think that's probably doing a fair reflection on the match as well. But
I think
Brentford
we should
had
have
a game
lost,
plan.
but that's just
But
me. We would have felt different. Well, we would have felt differently if the whistle had not happened. We wouldn't have sucked those 20 minutes as much. But if we were only looking at the plays and who made more plays, I feel like Brentford did on the whole.
I don't think it should be judged like that personally, and I don't agree. I think on a balance of play, I think on a balance of play, I found myself sitting there thinking, this is not a game that I look at this and think we should have lost. And it's not necessarily a game I think that we should have won.
Okay.
It's just where I look at it and I think, we shouldn't have lost this game. While I was watching it, down and I'm fuming about some of the things that have happened, I'm still looking at how we're approaching the game and thinking, you know what? We're trying to assert ourselves on this match. We're not allowing the fact that Brentford have got a really good game plan against us. We're not allowing it for us to just go completely in our shell as we have done in the past. And we've dropped out our system and we've gone, actually forget it. They're countering us. So we've all got to get men behind the ball and let's try and eke out a draw. We played our game. We tried to enforce what we wanted to do, and it worked.
I feel like, they got more dangerous chances because when we pressed, we were so out of position. You watch the first goal, and there's only 2 defenders in position in the back, a third one getting back, and the fullbacks nowhere to be found because that's just the way we play. And they played really well through us. Like I said, during that time, the shot at chance should have been scored on. That was another one. I thought that they were really good, and I thought our adjustments were very good as well. So I feel like there's something to take from it, but it doesn't count for anything.
No, don't get any points for something to take from it. No.
Exactly. Let's see against West Ham, Alex. Let's see against West Ham. Of course, there are areas that, of course, Glasner will see and hopefully try to solve before then. I'm not as worried. It's just been frustrating. I'm not worried. It's just frustrating. I was nervous before the game because it's excitement, it's new season, and let's see what happens, etc. But there isn't signs of worry because what I saw today is basically players that are, first of all, that haven't had a full preseason together, which other teams have been in similar positions. Some teams in better than other teams in terms of that situation. More internationals out there. And second of all, I think what Glasner said before was pretty much an eye opener. What he said about and Eze, saying that it might take a few weeks for them to get back to the level that they deserve to be on and what we know them because they had a season. So if you add everything together next week, this game is out of the way now. They've had a preseason friendly as well. It's another game where they got under their belts, and I feel like we will be improving from here on out. So I'm not as worried about that. But Alex, pleasure talking to you. Hopefully next week we can talk about a win.
Yeah, and you keep the good work up, guys. Take it easy.
See you later.
Bye.
Okay, if no one else is joining, we'll be here for a few minutes more. We'll wrap up the show. We'll go through some comments as well. Let's see. If you want to call into the show,
not all the comments are worth going through.
Yeah, I mean, it's a bit crazy today. James saying, if you could sign one more position before the window closes, which one?
Probably agree with Glasner, and it's got to be left wing back. Really, he needs some competition for Ty out there. Otherwise, I think he might. He's going to coast through the season. He has good games. He has not so good games. But no one's really pushing him, are they? At times, I mean, we saw it today. He created our goal, didn't he? But I don't know. Is he consistent enough? Is he enough of a threat? And does he get back quick enough? That for me, that's the big one. Does he? I think he has the engine to get back if he wants, but I think sometimes he's just a little slow. And that leaves our defence exposed. So interesting to hear Glasner's comments about the defence needing to be more compact. Well, you can't be compact if you're if your centre back is coming out to play left back because of your system and you're attacking. So the only way you can be more compact is if you bring another player. Another player has to then drop back into the centre of defence, or some combination of those things. So my thoughts are that we need to ask a little bit more of Tyreek Mitchell, and part of doing that is getting somebody who's going to really push him for that spot.
Yeah. There are weaknesses that we can definitely improve on. We're going to wrap up now, people, but let's go through this comment. If you're enjoying the stream, it only takes a second of your time. Thanks to every single one of you that's done that. Please hit the like button, people. Please, 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 please. I think Brentford had a really good plan. The defenders played really wide to pull our attackers out of position, which Glasner, being in the school of Red Bull, likes to play narrow. I think Brentford were good. Yeah, Brentford weren't bad. They weren't bad, but I feel like we should have left with something in that game. But the referee was bad. It was really bad for both sides. And yeah, I'm just tired of us having referees make their debuts in our games. It's boring. It's not going to be any top 6 game, but it's going to be our game. But yeah, it was frustrating. But look, people, we're going to wrap up there. If you have enjoyed it, please leave a like and subscribe. Make sure to check out the player ratings, which will be out later. There's more content, of course, coming out next week after this defeat. There's loads of conversation that we had. So we'll be here. We'll be talking and looking forward to the first home game of the season. Unfortunate defeat. No need to talk about it now. Let's work on it and let's get the win against West Ham. But that's it from me and Hambo. Thank you to every single one of you. And until next time, up the Palace.
So a salute.